Hello everyone, my name is Iryna Tkachuk, I'm an artist and founder of the permanent makeup studio ti.lab. Today I want to talk to you on the topic which is disturbing for many people. This is brow cover-up. There won't be any masterclass today, and I won't show you how to cover up, but I would like to focus your attention on cases when we can cover up permanent makeup and when we can't. Very often I get photos of works in direct with questions like, Ira, is it possible to cover it up? So I would like to show you by example which works should be covered up and which shouldn't be taken on. If you see that your client has a light residue, the haze is translucent, through which the skin is visible, in this case you can undertake covering up. Here is an approximate format that we can cover up, that is, when the reminder isn't dense, we see that there is a little pigment and we have place where to put some more of a new pigment, then it makes sense to take over the cover-up. If you see a denser story, for example as shown in these photos, such work shouldn't be covered up. It's not worthy, because the skin is like a reservoir. Imagine that you have a glass of water and it's full. In order to add something else to this glass, you need to pour out a little from there. Accordingly, you need to remove part of the pigment to put a new one there. Such kind of works, as presented in the last photographs, need to be cleaned first. One more point about organic pigments, and everyone who works with organic, I urge to keep your clients' profiles and remember how many times you corrected your client's brows. Why? Well, organic matter, almost all of it, will eventually fade into gray. Even with correctors, it will still go into gray shades, more or less, depending on the brands. It's just the fact, and you need to be aware of it. And if your client renewed the eyebrows, for example, twice, that is, had the procedure done, then a correction, in a year came to you for updating, you repeated everything, and she comes back to you again in a year, I don't recommend correcting it again. Because look, you did the first process, you performed the work with a color corrector, your client was with these eyebrows, and after some time, they turned into a gray shade. Translucent, because you work lightly. So well done. After you've done the update procedure again put organic pigment, the client was sometime with a good result, everything is fine, the unstable shades were washed out, a grayish tint remained. The new gray was applied to the previous gray, and if you do the third procedure, your situation will be repeated. Respectively, you will have 3 layers of a light, transparent gray shade, but these 3 layers altogether will already be tight and opaque. It will be much harder to clean. That's why, if you work with organic pigments, I urge you, judge from the skin. There's no formula which is common for everyone. For someone 2 times, for someone 3, but for someone only 1 is enough. The reminder should be transparent all the time. That is, if a client comes and you see already dense image, then first clean it, either with a remover or with a laser. Work careful with the laser, because most organic pigments tend to invert when heated and go into orange shades. You can work with nozzle 532, this is a warm nozzle, then in effect will be less significant, I mean orange color. But still, it's better to use removers, especially if you know what pigments you use. 1-2 procedures with remover will be enough. They cleanse the skin, regenerate it a little, and prepare for the next step, where you put in a new pigment and make new eyebrows. Now let's get back to the question about the skin, whether it's translucent, and in general, how to communicate with a new client, I mean who just came to you, and you saw his eyebrows for the first time. To begin with, ask your client about how many procedures have been performed so far, by looking on its reminder and making some conclusions. That is, let the client remember the number of procedures. Perhaps some clients even know what pigments were used to make their eyebrows. You know, now is the era of smart customers who watch YouTube, and most of them watch our videos, and ask if we work with minerals or organics. Maybe your client will know that too. Next, how to assess the translucency of the pigment on the skin. What does it mean? It means that you must see the gaps between skin and tattoo, between the pigment. If you look at my eyebrows, you'll see that I have here a few different colors. And you all know that I've been removing them for a long time. But if not completely, I inform you that this process takes me a long period of time, used in many various ways. Well, currently the border of my eyebrows is translucent, so it's possible to cover it up. But if to look inside under the hairs, over here in the main line, there is a rather dense residue. No translucency, namely I don't see my pure skin between the pigment. If it's not clear what the air between the pigment means, we have a video about it, and there will be a link to eyebrows tutorial. There I tell you exactly how to work with organics so that there is air between the pigment that you're putting in. It will become more clear, therefore check it. So look, here I have a tattoo. Imagine that this leaf is your client's eyebrow. If it looks like this part of the leaf, with such blackish, dark things, or like here, it means that you shouldn't put new pigment there. Whereas, if your eyebrows look like the middle of the leaf, you see, here it's slightly and not densely painted over with pigment. And the skin is translucent. Then you can cover up. But here, let's say on this leaf, the middle is a little denser, and there are such clearly visible expressed dots. Again, this kind of image I wouldn't cover up. You can do it only in places where you see light dust. Now look at these rows. And in these places, where the pigment is tighter, I wouldn't cover up either. If you have the same on your brows, you will need to put here a corrector first and then a color on top. That is, you know, a very high concentration of pigment. Skin resource is minimal, and it will simply push out the new layer that you put in it. Though, if it's almost transparent, like this, you can try to cover it up. I tried to spell out for you the cases when you can cover up and when it's a bad idea. And be sure to consider the fact that if you're working with organic pigments, don't thicken your eyebrows. I beg you, because it's very difficult for organic matter to come out, and then it's very difficult to remove it, especially modern organic pigments. It's really unstable, and later difficulties with it arise. So work with it better airy, translucently, and superficially. If you work with a mineral, then yes, of course, then lay your work tightly, but not deeply. The mineral will crumble over time in the skin and gradually will come out of the skin with almost zero residue, and it can be renewed an infinite number of times. That's why we switch to the mineral, because it's more, I wanna use the word organic. Well, but not organic in its direct meaning. That is, the mineral is more, somehow, eco-friendly, beneficial for your skin. What I mean? That there are no such nuances and subtleties with it as with organic matter. But there are slight difficulties in putting into skin. Of course, that's the matter of skill. I hope that everything was clear, though if you still have any questions, be sure to write it in the comments. I will try to answer them. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give the thumbs up. We really appreciate feedback. See you soon!